In 1917, American soldiers climbed into a steel box with a gasoline engine, a machine gun, and no radio. The armor was thin enough that rifle bullets could sometimes punch through it. Today, the M1 Abrams can detect, track, and destroy an enemy tank at 3 kilometers in complete darkness before the enemy crew knows it's there. This is every American tank ever built and how each one made the last one obsolete. M1917, light tank, 1917, 6 tons, 2 crew, a copy of the French Renault FT built under license because America had no tank industry of its own. 1 machine gun, or 1 37mm cannon, 8 kilometers per hour. Armor so thin that a heavy machine gun can penetrate it at close range. The M1917 arrives too late for World War I and never fires a shot in combat. But it proves one thing. A vehicle that moves under fire and carries a gun changes infantry warfare permanently. It establishes the template every tank after it follows: a steel box with tracks, a gun, and an engine. Everything else is iteration. M2 Medium, 1939, 18 tons, a 37mm gun, 16 kilometers per hour off-road. By the time it enters service, German tanks in Europe are already proving it obsolete before it fights anyone. The gun is too small, the armor is too thin. The M2 never sees combat either, but it forces American engineers to think seriously about what a real battle tank actually needs: more armor, a bigger gun, a faster engine. The answer to all 3 questions becomes the next vehicle. M4 Sherman, 1942, 30 tons, a 75mm gun, later upgraded to 76mm, 40 kilometers per hour. Reliable enough that a broken-down Sherman gets repaired in hours instead of abandoned on the roadside. 50,000 built more than any other Western tank of the war. The Sherman's advantage is never armor or firepower in isolation, it's numbers combined with mechanical reliability. German tanks are technically superior one-on-one. A Tiger has thicker armor and a better gun. But America ensures there are always 3 Shermans for every Tiger, and when one burns, 2 more take its place. The doctrine is brutal, and it works. The Sherman wins the war not by being the best tank, but by being everywhere at once. A-26 Pershing, 1945, 41 tons, a 90mm gun capable of killing a Panther or Tiger at combat range, 4 inches of frontal armor. America spends most of the war believing the Sherman is sufficient. By late 1944, after grinding through Normandy hedgerows and into the German heartland, it becomes clear it isn't. The Pershing arrives in Europe in February 1945, 3 months before the war ends. Too late to change the outcome. Early enough to prove that American industry can produce a heavy tank when it decides the situation demands one. M48 Patton, 1952, 45 tons, a 90mm gun, a new rounded hull designed to deflect shells rather than absorb them flat. The first American tank with an integrated ballistic fire control system that helps the gunner calculate range and lead on a moving target. The M48 misses Korea and fights extensively in Vietnam, where jungle terrain makes tank warfare far less decisive than infantry and air power. It is good enough for the conflicts America actually fights. It is not good enough for the war. It is designed for a massed Soviet armored assault across the North German plain. M60, 1960, 50 tons, a 105mm rifled gun that can defeat any Soviet tank of the era at standard combat ranges. The first American tank with a diesel engine, eliminating the fire risk of the gasoline-powered Pattons that burn so readily when hit. Over 15,000 built, 40 countries operated. The M60 becomes the standard NATO tank through the 60s and 70s. The problem is that by the mid-70s, Soviet T-64 and T-72 tanks are appearing in numbers that outmatch it in both armor and firepower. The M60 gets updated repeatedly, new sights, new fire control, bolt-on armor packages, but the platform is reaching the end of what updates can fix. A replacement design from scratch is no longer optional. M1 Abrams, 1980, 60 tons. A 105mm gun replaced in 1985 with the German Rheinmetall 120mm smoothbore. Chobham composite armor, layered steel, ceramic, and classified materials that defeat shaped charges far more effectively than solid steel of equivalent weight. A Lycoming gas turbine engine producing 1,500 horsepower, 70 kilometers per hour on road. The Abrams is the first American tank designed from the ground up around the assumption that it will fight outnumbered against a numerically superior enemy. Its fire control system stabilizes the gun at full speed across broken terrain. Its thermal imaging sees through complete darkness and through smoke and dust. In the Gulf War of 1991, M1A1 Abrams destroy over 3,000 Iraqi armored vehicles. American losses to enemy tank fire, 0. The margin isn't narrow, it is absolute. The Abrams doesn't just win engagements, it makes the concept of fighting it seem unreasonable. M1A2SE PV3 Abrams upgrade 2020. The same hull, evolved continuously for 4 decades, depleted uranium armor inserts in the turret front that no known anti-tank missile reliably penetrates from the front. A commander's independent thermal viewer that allows the commander and gunner to track 2 completely separate targets simultaneously. A fully digital architecture that links the tank in real time to drone feeds, artillery networks, helicopters, and other vehicles in the formation. The Trophy Active Protection System, originally Israeli, detects incoming rockets and missiles and destroys them in flight before they reach the hull. The Abrams of 2020 shares a hull with the Abrams of 1980. Every system inside it has been replaced at least twice. M10 Booker, 2022, 42 tons, a 105mm gun, designed not to replace the Abrams, but to give light infantry brigades direct fire support without requiring a 60-ton main battle tank that breaks roads and can't fit in a C-17. The Booker fills the gap between infantry fighting vehicles and the full Abrams. It is the first entirely new American armored platform in decades that doesn't start life as an upgrade of something older, lighter, faster, deployable by air. A different tool for a different problem, 2035 to 2050. What comes next? The Abrams X is already demonstrated publicly. Same 120mm gun. Hybrid electric drive cutting fuel consumption by 50%. An autoloader that removes 1 crew member and reduces the turret profile. Weight dropped to 50 tons without reducing protection. The crew moves into a hardened compartment in the hull, away from the turret entirely. Unmanned ground vehicles are already running alongside Abrams formations in field tests. Smaller, faster, expendable, capable of taking the first shot in a contested engagement so the manned tank doesn't have to absorb the first hit. Vehicle-level laser systems are being integrated to defeat incoming rockets at close range before active protection even engages. The tank that survived missiles now burns them out of the air before they arrive. From a 6-ton copy of a French design that never fired a shot in combat to a 60-ton network node that fights in total darkness and intercepts its own incoming fire. Every generation exists because the one before it became vulnerable. Numbers, firepower, armor, precision, autonomy. And the next American tank is probably already driving itself across a test range whose name isn't on any map.